were brought up on Islam. Our parents look like Muslims. They got the beards, they got the thobes, our mother's dress and stuff like that. But we still identify like culturally with everybody else.
So those younger years were impressionable on you as well, living in those environments.
You getting like Islam from your parents. Your parents is telling you like, no, this is right, dress like this, talk like this. But everybody that you actually identify with is speaking the opposite. So my dad understood that. So he said, look, there's nothing I can do. Like, we already gave y'all the foundation. Once y'all already do the right thing, then we here. But as long as you want to live like that, you can't be here.
So what was it that brought you back?
Basically, I had a dream, that I had got shot like 10 times or something like that. At the moment of like death, when like my soul was about to leave my body, I was like, oh, nah, this is it. Like, I'm about to die right now. So I tried to say my shahada and I opened up my mouth and I couldn't say it. When I was 23, that's when I actually made the move to come to Egypt. Coming to Egypt honestly changed my entire like mindset about this part of the world and also about America.
Get your copy of the Hijrah Handbook at book.makehijra.com. All right, let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up.
So I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, but I grew up between Newark and PA, so Wilkes-Barre, PA. Okay. When I was around like 9 years old, my family moved to Pennsylvania, I guess for like a better life or whatever, outside of the city. It's not as like compact as like it is in like the inner city or whatever. Right. It's like a smaller city. Right. So it's not fully like suburban, but it's not like city like that. So
right. Did you grow up in a Muslim family?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Both my mother and my father is Muslim. So me and all my siblings, there's 10 of us, we all grew up as Muslims, alhamdulillah.
So how was it growing up in Wilkes-Barre?
Wilkes-Barre, yeah.
Wilkes-Barre. How was it growing up Muslim there? Was there a Muslim community?
Subhanallah, like I wouldn't really call it a Muslim community. Like, we had a masjid, but Wilkes-Barre is kind of like, it's one of them cities where it's not really much going on at all. Not with the Muslims and not with the non-Muslims either. It's just like one of those kind of like dead cities where people just roam around. So, but at the masjid, like when we were younger, when we first moved there, the community was actually pretty active. It was a lot of people that was moving from mainly Newark, where I'm originally from. Most of the people in that community were from there, Newark, New York, and stuff like that. So at the masjid, it was kind of, busy with a lot of Muslims, but community-wise, I wouldn't really say it's an Islamic community. Everybody's like scattered, So, but when we went to the masjid, it was,
So did you go to Islamic school there, or just regular school?
No, I'd never been to Islamic school. I went to homeschool for a couple of years, and then I basically went through public school for most of my life.
So how was that? How was it? It had to be a bit different because, growing up in public schools and mixing your Islamic values with the values there.
SubhanAllah, me personally, I wasn't really able to, me, like most of my peers, we all like pretty much fell below wayside, at one point or another. Alhamdulillah, in my case, Allah, brought me back, when I was 18 years old. But most of my peers in PA and in New Jersey, majority of them still, battling with that,
Right.
So it's really not, it's no battling, the bad way, outweighed the good and on so many different levels, pretty much.
So what was it that brought you back, if you don't mind sharing?
I don't mind. So like the short answer is pretty much like, I had a dream. Like it sound real, I don't know, like cliche is the word, but I had a dream. I was in a real messed up situation. So when I was 18, I was locked up. I got locked up, and I got locked up for like, this was like my third time being locked up, and I was actually in jail. Like I got charged as an adult and everything. So I was in my cell, and I had a dream, that I had got shot like 10 times or something like that. And it wasn't even really, I don't even feel like it was a dream. It was actually like it was like very real. It was different from an actual dream, you know. I felt everything. So basically at the moment of like death, when like my soul was about to leave my body, like I said, I was raised as a Muslim.
Right.
So at that moment, I had always knew that, like, you know, the hadith about, you know, if you say your shahada before you die, whatever. So in my dream, I was conscious. I was like, oh, nah, this is it. Like, I'm about to die right now. So I tried to say my shahada and I opened up my mouth and I couldn't say it. I couldn't say it. Like, the cat got my tongue. I couldn't say it, you know, but mentally I was conscious. I knew exactly what I was supposed to say, but I wasn't given the tawfiq to say it. And subhanAllah, I woke up, and from that day when I was 18, that's when I started praying. Like, I woke up that day, you know, sweating, like drenched, my whole like bed was drenched in sweat. And at first I was like, you know, real ignorant, like, you know, went back to my old habits, like, oh no, because the person who actually had shot me in a dream had just came into jail that same day. You know, it was somebody I knew from you know, my past or whatever. So I was like, oh nah, like, you know, that's a sign, you know. You know what I mean? So, but after a few seconds, you know, you wake up, you get your conscience back, and I made wudu. I didn't even remember how to make wudu properly, but I just went to the sink and I just like washed my face, my hands, and then I prayed. And from that day, I never missed a Fard prayer, like ever. You know, so that's what brought me back, you know.
So, and growing up in a house, in a Muslim household, were your parents trying to push y'all towards, you know, praying and going to the masjid and that type of thing?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, you know, may Allah preserve my parents. Alhamdulillah, they definitely tried, you know, with all that they had, to try to preserve our Islam and stuff like that. So alhamdulillah, like I have amazing parents, like alhamdulillah, like they definitely, like my father always put a strong like emphasis on like seeking knowledge. He's not the most knowledgeable person himself, but he always kept books in the house. You know, he always tried to make us like read together and stuff like that. My mother, same way, like, you know, she's always doing dhikr and stuff like that. So they definitely tried to push us, but I guess the environmental like pressures was just too strong.
So when did you really start to feel that? Like what age?
SubhanAllah, I think it starts from young. Like it started from before we even moved to PA. You know, so for example, like just growing up, like my father, like he's a vendor, right? So we used to, like downtown Newark, he used to vend, he had a truck, you know, we had stands. So we grew up like selling waters, like hustling, you know? But being down, especially like downtown Newark, I don't think a lot of like downtown areas are like that no more, but it's very like, it's not like a super nice like downtown, like it's real like ghetto, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you on a block, like everywhere. So like growing up, seeing that stuff, it started real early.
So where was that influence coming over the parents? Like, was it middle school or earlier?
From one aspect, you getting like Islam from your parents. Your parents is telling you like, no, this is right, dress like this, talk like this. But everybody that you actually identify with outside, you know, that look like you, is speaking the opposite to you. You know, it's communicating the opposite to you. So like seeing, you know, dudes walking past, you know, selling drugs, smoking, all of that stuff, it started from real early. So like, I don't know, like age, like real young, like 7, 8, you know. But where it actually started to grab me, like, and actually started to pull me, was like 12, 13, 14, you know? And so, by like 14, 15, that's where like you pretty much gone. You know?
So those younger years were impressionable on you as well, living in those environments, seeing what other people are doing.
So this is interesting because when I lived in Newark, Allahu A'lam, like now I'm getting older, I'm getting mature, I have like different views, but in general, I feel like our Islam was more protected when we were in Newark because of the presence of the Muslim community. And it wasn't that weird to go outside with a thobe on and stuff. Like we still felt a little bit embarrassed, but in general, like everybody got a Muslim in their family somewhere around, down the line. So like, it's not weird to go out and see hijabs and stuff like that. But when we went to Pennsylvania, it's different, it's predominantly like white, especially when we went to this city, like people were just starting to like flood the city from the inner cities and stuff like that. So it's pretty like, it was still predominantly like white people, everything was weird. So when we got there, like people was looking at, that's my first time ever actually remembering seeing a white person myself, So anyway, when we got there, they looked at us very weird. So it became a bigger pressure. But in general, what I would say is that seeing the Muslims, us being like a lot of Muslims in the city, it helped. But at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like because like it's so contradictory, because we were brought up on Islam. Like we were brought up on Islam. Our parents look like Muslims. They got the beards, they got the thobes, our mothers dress and stuff like that. But we still identify like culturally with everybody else. It's not like we're foreigners that moved here and like when we go outside, people's like, no, like, yo, they're Egyptian.
Right.
Like, even if you grew up in that community, everybody knows like, yo, your parents are this. Versus us is like, it's almost like we grow up with like kind of identity issues. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't really know, like we know we from these people, but we not at the same time,
right.
So it kind of caused more confusion than anything a lot of the times, I feel like.
So how did they address your changes,
So they definitely noticed. It was definitely noticeable, a mother and a father has different ways of addressing things,
Right.
So I got a father that been through pretty much everything that we went through and more.
Right.
So his approach was a bit different and more like tough love. Like, yo, listen, you gonna follow these rules or you're not gonna be here, But he always expressed to us that, like, especially for the boys, like that as long as we are trying to do the right thing, that he's gonna be there to support us and stuff like that.
Right.
So, with my dad, it was more like tough love, once he's, and I don't even blame him, because certain paths, when you go down, it's very hard, like sometimes when people get to a certain level, they just got to learn for themselves,
Yeah.
So my dad understood that. So he said, look, there's nothing I can do. Like, once y'all want to do the right thing, yeah, we already gave y'all the foundation. Once y'all want to do the right thing, then we here. But as long as you want to live like that, you can't be here. So like when I was 15, I was like completely out, on my own for a couple of years. And then
so you left the house?
Yeah. So, but my mother, on the other hand, very strong, like, alhamdulillah, very strong Muslim woman. But she's a mother. Like, she's real compassionate, she's real easygoing, she make dua, very optimistic.
Right.
So always, like, the door is always open. She reminded us, but at the same time, it wasn't like that of my father, So I had an older brother, rahimahullah, Abdullah. He was like 3 years older than me. He had his struggles. He always tried to advise me, but you know how that go, like, like you can't tell me, like Sheikh Bilal was just saying, with the examples and the models, you understand what I'm saying? Like, so, and it was the same thing with me and my younger brother. We was a little bit closer in age. So it's like, yeah, we reminded each other, but we all was doing the same thing. So it really didn't, our sisters.
So what age did you decide to go overseas, travel to Egypt?
Well, the age that I actually came to Egypt was 23. So I had, like I said, I came home from jail when I was 18. I started practicing, alhamdulillah. And when I was 23, that's when I actually made the move to come to Egypt. But I was obsessing over Egypt for at least like 2 years, obsessing over like seeking knowledge and stuff like that.
So did anybody suggest Egypt to you?
Yeah, there was a couple people who mentioned it to me. It's one brother specifically that I knew, he, like, his kids pretty much grew up over here. He was over here studying for a long time, like almost 10 years or something like that. And he came back, his kids had memorized the Quran and stuff like that. So that was my first, like, kind of introduction when I first heard about him, I didn't have a goal of coming to Egypt, but that was my first like introduction to the fact that people actually travel and leave and go to study and stuff like that.
Right.
So, but you know, here and there, YouTube and stuff like that. That's how I found out about Egypt. But I honestly, when I first thought about studying the religion and like traveling and stuff like that, it was Saudi Arabia, you know, the University of Medina. That's what that's what my goal was. When I left, it was October 2020. So just a little backstory on that. Like that the beginning of that year when COVID happened, that was in the midst of COVID. So in the beginning of that year, I had my last semester in college. I had went to college or whatever. I had my last semester of college, but then COVID hit. But the beginning of that year, I set a goal. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna save $10,000 this year. Like I told you, I was vending, selling oils and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, I need to save $10,000. So I did the math. It came out to like I need to save like $30 a day or something like that for the year, and then I'll come out with $10,000 for the end of the year, and I'm gonna leave to go to Egypt next year. COVID happened. Everything got shut down, quarantine. So you know, eventually, alhamdulillah, we got the little money. People got their little money or whatever. And my aunt that I was living with in New Jersey for my last semester, she reminded me. She was like, "Yo, didn't you say you wanted? Then you have a goal to go to Egypt? Like you got this money. Like what you gonna do?" So subhanallah, within a week from her mentioning that to me, in like a week or two time, I had booked my ticket, and I didn't know where I was gonna go. But I just booked my ticket. I bought suitcases and stuff like that, and I prepared to go. There was one brother that was here that, you know, I thought would help me, but for whatever reason, he wasn't able to help me. For real? Literally a week before my flight, somebody sent me a flyer on WhatsApp. And it had, I think, a brother that you did a podcast with before, Brother Idris with Muyassirun, and they have the student housing. So I found their flyer and I contacted them, and alhamdulillah, I got plugged in with them, and I went and I stayed there for about 6 months, and that's how I started, you know, that's how I got like introduced to Egypt.
So what was your experience, man, living outside of the States? I mean, how did you find it?
I mean, subhanallah, I'm not gonna lie, like wallahi, coming to Egypt and like staying here, I had only left the country once before. That was only for 6 days. I went to Umrah. I just stayed in Mecca the whole time. But coming to Egypt honestly changed my entire like mindset. You know, about this part of the world and also about America. You know, because a lot of times we tend to have like a real negative view of our own country, but then you get over here and then you see, you know, people that live with way less and the way that their mindset is with regards to, you know, when they think about traveling to America, like they got a whole game plan. And like now I actually understood how people come from different countries and they're able to like build real fast, it seems, in our country where like in our communities it's just like, you know, we feel hopeless and stuff like that, and that we all want to like rush to leave and stuff like that. So that's one of the main things, like the way that I view opportunity and the way the world functions and stuff like that. It really like opened up my eyes to a lot of stuff. So the main reason that I came back, the number one reason is to continue my studies, to master the Arabic language and, you know, all of the basic sciences. You know, I'm still a very like beginner like student. I want to finish the Quran, inshallah, get strong enough in Arabic to where I can open up any book and listen to any lecture, any sheikh, and be able to understand. And I just want to become grounded in my religion and my understanding, you know, on all levels, pretty much. So that's the main goal. And the second is to, you know, I'm seeking to be financially free, you know. So I've started a business out here so far, pretty much helping people to get settled, you know, people that's like me that didn't have anyone, you know, here as a contact to help them get settled in Egypt. You know, the process can be very stressful. A lot of the times, you know, things don't function here like they function back home. So I offer 3 main services here. Number one is finding like apartment finding. So I find apartments for people who want to land and just get straight inside of a, you know, accommodation is pretty much where they're going to be settled at. So I offer that. I also offer a service to like find you an unfurnished apartment and like furnish it for you.
Right.
And then the third main service that I offer is helping people to get their visa extensions for the first time after the 30 days. After, as an American or in other countries, when you come in, you get a 30-day entry visa for $25. Right. And after that, you have to go to the government building to do the visa extension. And most of the time, they'll give you 6 months, But that's a process that, like, it's not really that clear online. They don't have clear guidelines and stuff like that, especially when it's your first time. And, even for people who've been there a million times, it's always the same, chaos there. So I offer services to help that process be a little bit smoother for the newcomers, pretty much.
Are you dreaming of a new life in Cairo? At Make Hijrah Egypt, we're here to turn that dream into a reality, inshallah. Our comprehensive services include expert consultations, hassle-free airport pickup, and even temporary housing to make your arrival smooth and stress-free. We offer personalized assistance with finding the perfect home, navigating local customs, and assessing essential resources, ensuring you feel at home from day one. Our Egypt Welcome Guide and Personal Assistant service provides you with everything you need to quickly adapt and thrive in your new environment. With Make Hijrah Egypt, you're not just moving, you're joining a community that supports you every step of the way. Let us help you make Cairo your new home. Next stop, Egypt.